How's it going?
What's going on, Jerry? How you doing?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Good. We are live right now.
Oh,
Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Welcome to the BEASTwriter family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and we are here with my man, Jerry Yang. Jerry, how you doing today?
doing good, doing good. I'm happy to be back on. We took a little bit of a break, but happy to be here. And I'm ready for the BEASTwriter family. Got
Ah,
my
that's what's
shirt on.
up.
I'm ready to
Hey,
go.
I was gonna wear mine. I wore my shirts yesterday and the day before that, so I ran out of my
Yeah.
shirts. I wasn't gonna wear stinky workout clothes on the stream, so I was like, that's not a good
See, I
call.
got you covered. I got my shirt on, so
There you go. Show people, hey, no, honestly,
Watch
honest
out. Here
opinion.
we go.
No,
I'll keep this
don't
on.
be biased. Okay, don't be biased.
Yeah, yeah.
I want your honest feedback on the swag that you got, and totally like this is unscripted. But I really want to because people don't know. People don't
Right.
know if it's good or bad. They just see a shirt and like, oh, that's a cool looking
Yeah.
shirt. But like, what's the quality? How does it feel? What type of cotton is it made from? Is it cotton polyester blend? Everything's made and designed in the U.S. in LA, actually. All our stuff is made there. But tell the people what your thoughts are on the show. You got a couple, so obviously you must have liked
Uh,
it.
Wow, you're putting me on the spot here, like t-shirt analysis to start the show. All right. No, it's a
Yeah,
really I don't know, I think it's a high quality shirt, It's not like
yeah.
one of those shirts that you buy on the streets where you watch it once and the logo's gone. It's not one of those shirts for sure, right? And I only have one. I gave the other one to Mike Tate, actually, my co-host. So
Yeah.
I gave him one, so he has one too. So, but yeah, this is a good shirt. Mike was wearing it the other day too. He was enjoying it. I think it's no, it's a quality shirt. It's definitely a shirt we will wear. I wore this like last week as well, even when we're not doing stream. So it's a
Oh,
good shirt,
thank you, man. Appreciate it. No, it's not cheap to make. I'll tell you that. If I wanted to go with, no offense, but like if I wanted to go with like a Gildan or something like that, which you see,
Yeah,
um, Gildan's probably one of the cheapest brands you can buy on the market. And if you don't know, if anybody who
it's the
knows,
most popular, right? For being
yeah,
cheap.
Gildan. If you see Gildan, it's like, ah, man, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna go that route. I'm gonna get the best quality stuff made. So my stuff is usually made by Cotton Heritage. You're looking at independent. You're
Yeah.
looking at things like that, like the top quality style of blanks, and you get that because of the fact,
Mhm.
like, look, like my name is on that shirt. Like that's my
Yeah.
brand. Like I'm all about quality. I'm not about quantity. And if I'm gonna pertain or not pertain, but if I'm going to say I'm the best in everything I do and I give you a quality or a shitty, I don't care, shitty product, no one's going to buy that. No
Yeah,
one's going
you
to want
want
to support that.
shirts. You want shirts that people wear,
Yeah.
right? Because it's
Yeah.
part of like your everyday life, and people won't think
Right.
about it.
Just like our
So,
Bay Area rooted swag right here. This is like my clothing line, right? So
yeah,
it's like all top quality stuff. All right, so let's get to it. That was a good intro. I wanted your honest opinion because people were asking, like, I'm gonna be biased. Like, of course, I'm gonna say it's the best. It's my own stuff. Like, oh no, it's really bad, man. You shouldn't buy my swag. Um, no, I wanted the honest opinions and testimonials. That's how Bay Area really got so big, right? And that's why all
right.
these celebrities and stuff wear it because of the fact, like, look, like it's a cool looking product and cool looking design, but what is the quality of the actual shirt? Like,
Right.
is it something that you can wear for the duration that will last 5, 10 years? Yes, it will.
I think
Um,
so. I think so. I think so. And I think,
yeah.
people who support your show, they shouldn't hesitate in terms of quality, right? I think people should buy it if they support you. you know,
Well, I
just
would be
saying,
skeptical.
bro. I
I
get
would
it.
be,
I get it.
I would be skeptical though. If I was in their shoes, I'd be a little bit skeptical because of the fact, like, look, our shirts are $30, right?
Right.
$30 or $25 each for two, so two for 50 or whatever the case may be.
So that's a good
But
deal too, though,
it is a
right?
good, it is
Yeah.
it's a freaking really good. My profit margin is not that high. But listen, it's not about that. It's about the brand exposure. But anyways, getting back to my point is like I cannot. I've never been in the business of being cheap. And me myself, I will call out my own friends who have clothing lines. I'm like, dude, this is crap shit. Like we have friends here in the Bay Area who have their own clothing lines. And I'm looking at it, and what maybe because I'm in the industry, been in it for 5 years now. By the way, we hit Bay Area to hit our 5 year anniversary coming up in December. But um, it's funny because you look at their profit margin, and you know their profit margin because you know the vendors. We all go through the
Right.
same type of vendors. It's just are you willing to pay that extra that extra $2 for a better quality shirt. I am. I'll pay $5. Some people will say, no, let's just outsource stuff to China or to India. And nah, that's not how I do it. I want to support the local small businesses.
That's good.
Here.
You don't cut corners, so I think that
Yeah.
people should appreciate that, right? For your show and for your products, you don't cut corners. So I think that's what makes you the best in this industry, because you don't cut corners on things. That means you're really diligent and you put the work in, right? So it's and the research into it. So I think everything you do, Beats, I think you put a lot of heart into things. So that's why I had no hesitation on this shirt, because I knew it's going to be the best that Beats could bring forward. So.
But no, thank you so much for the support. You've always been so supportive, you and Mike as well. Okay, so let's get started. Let's talk about week 7. All right, so week 7 just wrapped up. I'm going to get coaches. I got coaches film early this morning. I was running grades. People are wondering why I'm off the grid. It's because I run grades. It takes me about 60, 65 to even 72 hours to run these grades over the course of the week. So in order to formulate my analysis, this is my thoughts on that before I ask you for your thoughts. Because I think it's my job to tell people, yo, you've been off the grid. What's going on? Look, if you're going to criticize or praise a player, at least have the respect and decency to grade every single snap. Not just go to these highlight plays or some bad plays and some good plays and be like, oh yeah, these are no, that's a bunch of crap, dude. At least have the respect to grade every single snap played for that specific player. Otherwise, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing your fans and everyone else a disservice. That's why when I say I cover all 32, I really mean it. Like, I cover the top players, or the people that I think are prioritized, or the players that are highly prioritized based on my schedule, and I formulate my analysis based on those top 100 players. And again, a lot of it stems from household names. Like, there's a lot of household names out there, like Chandler Jones. He's not even graded as an average player. I mean, look at his numbers since that 5-sack game that he had. He's been a non-factor. I took him off. He's not even in the running for an all-pro selection. So I think it's interesting how people just gravitate toward I'm not going to name this grading system, but you all know who it is. And there's a baseline for it, right? They're good. There's a reason they're at the top of their game. I'm not like downplaying like they're not good. I'm just saying, gain a different perspective and formulate your own analysis and actually do the legwork. The problem is, no one wants to do that because no one has time to do it, or no one wants to take the time to do it. And that's why I think it's very important for our viewers to know, like, hey, look, when you're part of the BWF and you're wearing that shirt, that signifies the entire NFL. But again, in order for me to criticize or praise Eric Armstead, I'm going to have to grade his every single snap. Javon Kinlaw, same thing. Or any other player, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, you name it. JJ Watt, I just graded him. So Buda Baker. Anyways, what is your thoughts? I just want to get that out of the way because it's my due diligence to say that because I feel like people have been saying, "Oh, you've been off the grid." We know.
I was wondering about that too, right? Because I watch your show.
Yeah,
you see me in the comments. So I'm wondering, like, well, there hasn't been an update from Beast. Like, he's tweeting a lot, but there hasn't been like a live stream video. I did like your interview last week though. That was pretty good. With I thought Randy. Was it Randy?
Yeah,
Mueller?
Randy Mueller. That's my good friend.
That was a great show. So
thank you.
That's why I was saying, like, oh wait, why is he not been live streaming? He hasn't been live streaming with me, so I know.
Yeah,
he's been busy. Yeah. But yeah, no, I appreciate the update on that. I think speaking for the fans, I think we know you have a really busy schedule, and we appreciate any time we get with you, right? Yeah. So if you. Yeah, we hope to see more of you.
I'm going to try to have a set schedule. But again, like I said, like I was talking to Randy about this, and it's like when you're on that grind and you're on that level of thinking, you really don't have time to do these live streams, because as much as people want the Beast to come on and schedule, look, I look at what I do is so much different from what other people do, because again, I have the pulse of the entire NFL, and I'm a one-man show. I mean, PFF has 800, 900, I don't know how many employees. They have over 500 employees. So they can delegate.
Well, if they have more than one, that's more than you, right?
Yeah. So you multiply that, bro.
That would double your workload right there. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, I get it. I honestly get it. And I think what we want to hear, that's what we want to hear analysis, right? Even if it's like 3 minutes, even if it's 10-minute streams, more clips or whatever. I know. It's gonna be quality stuff. So
Right.
just so we do together. Enjoy your
All right.
shows.
Enough about me. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about what your
Let's
thoughts
go.
are on
Let's
Week 7.
go.
Let's talk about the NFL standings, okay? NFL standings. Randy was on the show. Me and him both agreed that the Bills and Cowboys are the front runners to represent both the AFC and NFC for the Super Bowl this year. What's your take on the NFC standings, or sorry, NFL standings, and who do you think is going to be jumping ahead of any one of those two teams moving forward?
Well, I'm actually impressed by the Bengals. I think the Bengals have been
Nice.
doing pretty well lately, right? That's a
Mhm.
sleeper team, and I think for Tampa as well. Like Tampa has been a team that's coming on the rise, and I'm not sure how legit this undefeated streak is with the
Mhm.
Cardinals.
Right.
But I would put them up there now, right? Because
Yeah.
their record speaks for itself, but they are playing in the toughest division. So I can't imagine them going undefeated this season, which some
Yeah.
people are talking about. And I think you talk about Chandler Jones not having the production. I think it's because JJ Watt's there, kind of dual threating him, which is good. I mean, that's good for the team to have more than one guy be the focal point of the defense, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, those are the two teams that come into mind. I think the Raiders are a little bit of a surprise team, especially without Gruden in there. But
Okay.
I can never trust the Raiders when it comes to the end of the season, right? So, so I think that's a big thing there. But yeah, for the AFC standpoint, yeah, I would say the Bengals are definitely out there. I think the Ravens are a little bit banged up and not the same as they were before, but still a team to consider at least, right? And yeah, I think overall that those are teams that really surprised me. I think Joe Burrow is looking a lot better than I thought he was going to look in the beginning of the season. Right, he seemed to really be picking it up, and even that running back situation is a mess right now. They're still getting it done. So yeah, those are my picks. I mean, what are your thoughts? And I want to do some comparisons with you too. Like
Yeah.
what are some of the biggest disappointments and some. Think about it this way, right? Maybe I can phrase it for you in this way, where biggest disappointment is the Niners or the Chiefs, right? That's one. Biggest surprise is the Raiders or the Bengals. So what are your thoughts on that?
When it comes to the Niners or the Chiefs, honestly, I would say if I had to pick one of the two, it has to be the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know people are saying, why is it not the Niners? Well, look at the injuries that they've had. And again, I said it before the season began. You were on the show, and I said, watch, injuries are going to happen because they haven't changed up the strength and conditioning program. Not saying I'm there, but again, this is my field. So yes, I know what goes on. I know how they train. I was at practice for, the last 5-6 years. I know how they train. I just, come on. So like, I told you that. It's like, watch. Raheem Mostert's going to get hurt. I said Raheem Mostert. Did I not say Raheem Mostert's going to get hurt? And he got hurt.
Yep.
All right. I don't know what else to say other than the Kansas City. So the Niners, for me, I knew injuries were going to happen. And I have to be honest with you, though. I didn't think this many injuries were going to happen. So they have to make a change with the strength and conditioning program. They have to make a change there. So that's not a biggest surprise to me because of the fact, like, again, I said the defense wasn't going to be as strong with Saleh gone. I said it straight out of the gates. I said DeMeco Ryan's going to be more aggressive. He's going to use Fred Warner much like Bobby Wagner is. But he doesn't have the personnel that he once had. You got to understand, even though you have Nick Bosa coming back, is Eric Armstead going to be Eric Armstead of 2019, or is he going to revert back to his previous 5 years of being basically a non-factor? Is Javon Kinlaw going to be healthy? Right?
Do you think it was a mistake to promote DeMeco Ryan then? Do you think they should have gotten a more experienced defensive coordinator, or would that make a difference?
I don't think it really would have made a difference, to be honest with you, because I know DeMeco Ryans is one of the highest football IQ positional coaches leading up to getting a DC coordinator job. So I think the players also respect him from what I've heard and what I've seen. So for me to say DeMeco Ryans is not suited for the job, I would say that's unfair. I think it was very warranted. I liked DeMeco Ryans. I even did a podcast on that, a YouTube video on that, on my thoughts on DeMeco Ryans. I think he's going to be fine. Roll Tide roll, obviously coming from Bama, but it comes down more to the lack of depth with the San Francisco 49ers. It comes down to the secondary. Look, back in 2019, I believe it was a 2019 draft, or was it the 2020 draft? One of those two drafts.
Okay.
I believe it was 2019. They opted not to go secondary. Like they passed on Lonnie Johnson Jr., they passed on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I mean, these are players in real time. You guys know the first YouTube real time live stream, I would criticize or praise the picks as they unfolded, like Aaron Banks. Did it back in 2019 just on Twitter, right? Just on Twitter, just did the same thing. Here we are. You know, if look, my track record speaks for itself. You go back into the previous drafts, we would have Alvin Kamara. All right, we wouldn't have Reuben Foster. We would have Alvin Kamara. I told John Lynch to draft Alvin Kamara. There's a lot of players.
Jefferson, right? You like the Jefferson.
I said trade down, perfect trade down to if they stay pat, take Tristan Wirfs. Don't reach for Javon Kinlaw. Don't trade away DeForest Buckner. Don't resign Eric Armstead.
That seems obvious now, right?
Everybody's talking about it now. Everybody's talking about it now, but it's old news here in the BWF, and that's why people follow me. Look, I'm going to keep it 100. I'm not one of those guys that just goes with the wave and not afraid to voice my opinion. Look, I have an opinion. I'm going to voice it, right? If I didn't have a voice, no one would care. No one would be watching it. No one would, whatever. But the fact is, when you're right more times than not saying trying to toot my own horn, but it is what it is. That's why people follow me. That's how I'm different than everyone else, is because you want to know things before they happen. Look, I told you guys what was going to happen with the 49ers defense. I said the numbers are skewed because, again, NFL teams are ranked by total yards given up, right? Total yards allowed. For me, it comes down to red zone defense efficiency, however you want to label it, and keeping the other teams from lighting up that scoreboard. Those are the only two factors that I really care about. I don't care if you give up 1,000 yards in the game if you give up 3 points. If you can put teams in a position to where they're kicking field goals instead of scoring touchdowns, well, that's a winnable formula. The thing with that is the Niners, again, comes back to the secondary. Who do they have in the secondary that really is going to be a threat? I mean, you look at the 2021 NFL draft. Ambry Thomas has been a healthy scratch throughout the whole entire season. And he was, what, a third-round pick from Michigan?
Well, Lenore was in this last game too, right? I think.
Yeah, right. And I criticize both those picks, Jerry. You know I criticize. I'm in real time. And people are like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Here we are.
Yep.
Here we are.
So let me ask you this.
It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise for me. It's not a surprise.
Why is Kyle Shanahan opting for veterans over rookies? Do you think that he doesn't trust them, or what's the philosophy there? I mean, you know him best, right? Is it just a thing where
in terms of like
starting guys, right? Like activating guys, it seems he's opting for them, like Drake Kirkpatrick, for example, right? He activated him over Lenore. It sounds like to me it's a kind of a failing prospect, right? Because a veteran guy doesn't get better. They're over the hill. They're already past their prime. Whereas a rookie person might fail in the game, but they'll get better because they'll learn from it, right? At least have that experience under their belt.
I will say this. I have my own grading system. Drake Kirkpatrick is far and above beyond D.L. Lenore. D.L. Lenore looks like he's deer in the headlights look. He looks lost.
But he's a rookie, right? I mean, I get that, right? I know he's not there where Drake Kirkpatrick. I'm talking about the slope up, right? Right now,
there is no slope. There is no slope. There is no slope. There is no slope for D.L. Lenore. There is no slope for Ambry Thomas. That's why they're rolling with Drake Kirkpatrick. They have to admit they made a mistake. Look, these players are not like what you see with the Pittsburgh Steelers who got Trey Norwood. All right, Trey Norwood was a good slot cornerback. He can do a lot of different things with the defensive backs with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who now they opted to draft Trey Norwood, who, again, I cover the entire NFL. Look, Joe Hayden's not coming back next year. Trey Norwood might get that spot next year. And they also have James Pierre. James Pierre, number 42 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is way better than D.L. Lenore is for the San Francisco 49ers. Again, there's so many cornerbacks when you try to take into account and you're talking about one specific team and you're comparing that player to that specific teammate, it does no justice because, again, the landscape of the NFL is so broad. You really have to know exactly what is going on with the other 31 other NFL teams. And so that's why when I run my grades, I can come on here and talk to you off the top of my freaking head. Look, boom, 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 boom. These players are way better than D.L. Lenore is. These players are way better than Ambry Thomas is because we haven't seen the field. So it's unfair for me to say if Ambry Thomas is good or bad. But I will say this. If he was that good or any much better than D.L. Lenore is, being a third-round pick, he would have been activated. Same goes with Aaron Banks. All right. I criticized that pick and I still do today. So
Well, it sounds like the only guy we got from that draft is Elijah Mitchell. You know, like everyone else just seems like a waste.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even Hufanga, I think, was starting to show his weaknesses last game. Right, he was getting beat left and right there. So I think you're onto something about this draft. I guess now the question is there a way to fix it? Is this Niners team even
No.
salvageable, or they're
No.
done? You know,
No.
that's it.
It's, I'll tell you why it's not salvageable, because you keep teeter-tottering between the quarterbacks. First of all, let's backtrack a little bit. Okay, I know we're talking about the night. We can talk about any quarterback situation right now. We could talk about Joe Burrow. I do a lot of
Or
analytics.
Zach Wilson
and a lot
now,
of
Joe Flacco going to the Jets
we
because
can talk,
because Wilson's
Flacco,
out 2 to 4 weeks now, right? So
yeah. We could talk about a load of stuff. All right, but let's stay on topic with the Niners, because people want to talk about the Niners. And again, if you guys have any questions, send us a super chat and super stickers, because I know me and Jerry both are short on time, so that helps keep us on track and keeps us in line. Okay, so talk about the 49ers quarterback situation. When Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, okay, how did he know he was going to be out a couple weeks without even getting MRIs? After he got hurt. Well, hopefully it's a couple. How do you know
so
it's
weird,
not a
right? It's
how do you know the grade of the sprain?
diagnosis.
Like, how do you? Yeah, are you a doctor? Like, how do you know that? Interesting. Then they roll a Trey Lance, which I said that was going to happen. I predicted it before the season began. Watch, Trey Lance is going to start on the road. Played horribly.
Yeah.
Oh, now he's hurt. Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo's back now after the bye week. Oh, cool story. And here he is in Indianapolis, coming back home, and he does poorly. And then now Kyle Shanahan says, oh, shoot, well, Trey Lance may not be ready to start. And I know, here's the thing about that. Everyone says Trey Lance needs to start. But if you watch my show, what you did with Randy Miller, you would know that one well-respected GM, current respected GM by Randy in Randy Miller's network, told him Trey Lance is 1 year away from being away. 1 year away from being away. Yeah. So that means he's at least 2 years out from even being respectable.
Right.
I don't disagree with that. I agree with that 110%. Now, am I saying, and again, me and Randy both agree that he has Pro Bowl potential. We're not saying he's not going to be good, but we're saying the window to start Trey Lance now, you're doing your whole entire team a disservice, because at the end of the day, do you trust a young quarterback, which we saw in Arizona when it's a cover 4 or quarters cover shell, 4 deep, 3 underneath defenders, 2 wide receivers going deep, and he decides to throw a bullet in a window that was really no need to throw that type of velocity on the football, which prompted an interception. It doesn't make sense for me, and if I was Kyle Shanahan, to roll with Trey Lance, because again, if Trey Lance struggles just like every other quarterback, like Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and so forth, what does that do to him mentally? Because again, people think about the physical aspect, but mentally, is he going to get it down? I'm not so sure about that.
Right.
At least right now. And again, I talked about it in my pre-draft analysis. We're going back now, but again, everything checks out in hindsight. I said the transition from FCS level to FBS level to now SEC level to now, and that's NFL. That's too many layers in between to say this guy gets it. He's smart. He ran the same type of offense. Right. He's going to do just fine. No.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, right? I mean, he didn't have that much experience in college. He had one good season, and then there was a long break because of COVID, and then now he's thrown to the pros. It doesn't make sense to me that he would be NFL ready after that type of experience, you know? And I think your analysis of 2 years is pretty spot on, but, you know, I think they're forced to play him next season unless they're going to re-sign Jimmy, which I don't think is going to happen, right? And it'll be interesting to see what they do on Tuesday, too. There's a lot of rumors now of trading Jimmy because the trade deadline's coming up, but I don't think that's going to happen, right? I feel like they're just going to keep rolling with him. But, you know, certainly people are talking about it.
It wouldn't be surprising because I think Kyle Shanahan's feeling the heat.
Right.
I think
you can tell in his press conference, right? His press conference, he looks a lot more defeated than before. Like he was a lot more arrogant. He snaps back more than 2 weeks ago. But after this loss, it was like, All right. Yeah, I think so. I guess so. Like, there was nothing definitive, right? Like, his responses is always followed by "I think," "I guess,"
Yeah,
"maybe," right? And that's never been Kyle, right? It's
yeah.
even in the first season when he was losing, he was still like very sure of himself, very sure of the next steps. Right now, I feel like he's crushed. Like,
Well,
I
that's
think
what
the fan
happens. I
base
mean,
feels it too, right? I think the fan base is feeling
mhm.
deflated because the coaches, So.
I think at this point, he can't be cocky. He can't be conceited. He can't be arrogant. And that's who Kyle Shanahan is. And that's part of him, what makes him a jerk.
But
I
it
don't
makes
care.
him
I'll
some
say it.
good. That makes him
But
good
that's what
though,
makes him
right?
good,
The
right? Like,
confidence
I'm the
and
best.
jerkness is very close.
Yeah, there's
It's
a fine line between cockiness and humbleness, right? And you want
yeah.
to teeter that fine line, right? I always say, and I always tell people that I coach, who are really good, right? When I was coaching basketball and football, I said, look,
Mhm.
the difference between cockiness and confidence, right? The difference between two is humbleness, right? You have to
Mhm.
have the humbleness to with ability to grow, to ability to have the perception that there's someone always better than you. And if you're not
Mhm.
growing, you're not learning, you're just going to fall behind the learning curve.
Right.
Because again, if you're a know-it-all, you know it all. Okay, cool story, bro. But then again, that's not the reality of the situation. Reality situation is you always have to be constantly growing, always have to be constantly learning, because again, knowledge is power. And I think if you can send that message to young kids and actually teach them, look, there's a difference between the two, then you have something to work with. But if you're just an arrogant coach because of your dad,
Yeah.
and now because right, I'm not
Yep.
saying that. No, I'm not saying that Kyle Shanahan's got this gig, because I'm not saying that, but I am saying,
Right.
nepotism is a real thing, right? Like, he was in Washington because of his
Well, his
father.
opportunities was presented because of his father, but he
Right
took those opportunities to
there, you
make the
go.
best of it, right?
There,
So
but that,
I
but
get what you're saying, right? There is the nepotism where they
it is,
open the door for him, at least, right? That's
yeah,
the part that, yeah. But I think it was up to him to really get in that position because we've seen probably other kid coaches that haven't done well, right? Like John Gruden's kid, right? He's done well, made it to the head coach, but then obviously petered out, right? So I think for Kyle, the biggest thing I think what you're saying is he's he's confident, but he's cocky. But being cocky means he's not gonna fix anything, right? He's not gonna think anything's wrong with his approach. But now I think he's getting a rude awakening with this 4 game losing streak where he has to, right? He has to fix something. So I'm wondering if this changes his mindset a little bit, right? I think he's
no,
still at nature gonna be that cocky guy, but is he gonna fix anything? You think?
no, because trust me, I've been around Kyle Shanahan. It's not a secret that I call him arrogant. He is. I mean, with my press conferences with him, the
Mhm.
questions I asked when regarding Dante Pettis in real time, I I told Grant, I said, look, I'm going to ask Kyle Shanahan this Dante Pettis question on why he drafted him, and because I can't see him get off the line of scrimmage, he's not big enough. And so I asked Kyle Shanahan that question. He's like, oh, well, that's one of the things we liked about Dante Pettis. Fast forward to today,
He's
Dante
looking
Pettis
pretty
is now
good with New York
he did score a touchdown
this week.
last week
Yeah,
versus New York, but he's not great. I mean, come on,
yeah.
that's why he's not in San
Well,
Francisco anymore.
he's only
He's
on the
not he's
field
not he's not
because
good.
everyone
He's
else
not
is
good.
hurt, right? Sterling Shepard was hurt. Tony was
Yeah,
hurt. He was like the
right.
fifth
Tony
option.
Galladay's out. So, anyways,
Yeah.
getting back to it, fast forward to today, how I'm connecting the dots here is there was a question asked about Trey Lance, and then Kyle Shanahan's response was, "Well, that's one of the things we liked about Trey Lance." It's like, dude, just admit you're wrong in
Yeah.
certain aspects of the evaluation process. If you connect the dots, I mean, I'm around it, right? And like, I don't cover the 49ers, right? I want people to know I do not cover the 49ers. I just talk about them just like Joe, but I've been there, done that, whatever. It's done.
Yeah.
Like, I like covering the entire NFL now. It's just, it broadens my horizon and whatever. But we'll talk about the Niners if you want to talk about the Niners. But yeah, he's just very arrogant and cocky. I think that's one thing that he needs to learn is like you have to be able to adapt to your personality. You have to be able to
Mhm.
admit mistakes. Like, look, no one's perfect. I don't expect Kyle Shanahan to be perfect, but I do expect Kyle Shanahan to sit on the podium. You know what? Yeah, we made a mistake on Dante Pettis, BEASTwriter. Hey, maybe we have to reevaluate how we address the secondary.
Mhm.
We can't. Maybe we need to go back to our defensive back coaches and teach them. Hey, look, Do you even know the fundamentals when it comes to a deep ball? Like what the penalties are and the rules and changes and all these different things? You know, you have to teach the cornerback to look for the ball before putting his hands on the receiver.
Right.
You can't just
That
bear
was a
hug.
big problem,
Well,
especially with
it's common,
Mosley, right? Mosley's
and
been
it's
known to
common.
bear hug. So why have
It's
they
very.
fixed it yet, right?
Josh Norman does it notoriously too. Here's the thing with that. Dio Lenore does it all the time. So that's why when you had Drake Kirkpatrick in there, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I thought that was the right move to make in defense of Kyle Shanahan. That's in my grading system, that was the exact move you should make. Because Drake Kirkpatrick is not as bad as people make him out to be. In fact, as of right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Drake Kirkpatrick should be starting at this point over Josh Norman. I mean, I'm not saying he's that much better, but he is better than Josh Norman. I mean, Josh Norman gives up what? 1 or 2 penalties a game, defensive holding, 5 yards enforced, 13-yard PI. Oh, what do you mean? I ain't touched. Yes, you did, bro.
Yeah.
The
He's
only thing
definitely
that
lost
Josh
a
Norman
step,
is
right?
good at this point is doing the peanut punch, the Tillman peanut punch and forcing fumbles. And even that is a crapshoot at its best, because what you're doing when you're trying to punch the ball out is you're not wrapping up form tackling, which leads to what? Yak yards after the catch. So I don't know, man. I just think the lost fundamentals on the secondary is something that needs to be hammered out. And it starts with the coaching staff. Look, we can blame the players all we want, but we don't know what's happening at practice. I'm not at practice anymore, guys. But what I can tell you is if they were cleaning up these things in practice, playing the deep ball in situational football, or even in on Wednesdays, Thursdays practices where they're trying to teach, hey, look, this is how you're supposed to squeeze the receiver to the boundary. This is how you're supposed to play the deep ball. This is what you need to look for when you're lined up against trips formation. If it's a 3-by-1 on the other side, okay, we're going to roll this box coverage. You take this guy. If he goes on the inside route, you take this guy if he goes on the crosser route or an out route. And then the guy behind takes the deep. I mean, you have to know those things. If you look pre-snap and after watching coaches film, you will notice the cornerback turning to the freaking free safety, would it be Jimmy Ward, or if he comes up as a curl flat defender, whatever the case may be, and strong safety Jaquoski Tartan, he'll be like, and then the ball is snapped. It's like, oh shit, who the fuck do I have to cover? I'm serious. And that's what irritates me. Is like these things
crazy.
need to freaking get cleaned up.
That's crazy.
But no one's pointing this out.
Is it the lack of leadership on defense? Is that what it is? I mean, was Sherman the guy that was doing all this stuff before, or what? Like, what
it's not. It's not the lack of defense. It has nothing to do with Sherman. It has to do with the coaches. It has to do with coaches putting them in the best position to make plays. Because when they see certain formations that they maybe haven't prepared for when watching game film, now you're seeing something foreign to them, but then you have to adjust on the fly. You can't be like, oh, timeout every time. I haven't seen this, guys. What am I supposed to do on this play? What is it, a cover 1 or a cover 3 when this tight end rolls over to the strong side of the formation? I mean, things like this, you have to really know, and that's what makes a lot of these defense, that's what makes the Arizona Cardinals so good. Honestly, they know. You can tell. And that's why, again, it's funny because I don't like it when people criticize one team, whether it be the 49ers, Steelers, Cardinals, whatever the team we're talking about, if you don't know the landscape of the entire NFL, because, again, it's easy for us to watch one team and be like, oh, yeah, this guy sucks. But really, is it on the players or is it on the coaches as well? That's something that we really need to figure out because, again, football is a team sport. But then at the end of the day, all parties have to be held accountable. But if you're Kyle Shanahan saying, you know what, and just blaming it on the player and not on the coaching staff, that's on you, Kyle Shanahan.
So where do you go from here then? What do you think's going to happen? The next season's not going to be easy.
This season's lost,
easy, right?
This season's lost. I would take an L on the season. Look, I'm not saying forfeit games or give up. That's the wrong line of thinking. I don't care. Yeah. We don't even have a first round draft. I say B, whatever. I'm so like I'm so stuck in the Niner, like, you know.
You are a Niner for life.
I get so frustrated, dude. I get so frustrated because I know this team has the talent to be the reverse record. Unfortunately, injuries have stockpiled. So I think the whole
do you think talent's overrated too, though? I feel like that's also like not obviously the starters are injured. You can't really count that, right? But even the backups and all the guys are in there now. I feel like we've overrated them a lot. Like Lindor, for example, right? You totally called that one out. But there's other guys I think are getting overrated as well. You know, like one guy I'm saying is like McGlinchey. A lot of people were like, "Oh, he's doing better this season after the first 2 games," and
Who
then
said that?
look at him now. You know,
Who said
so
that?
few people, you know, a few articles read it saying that he's doing better. You know, but
That's why it's just like I remember people were saying, "Oh, Trey Lance going to be the week 1 starter." And I'm like, "Okay, guys, downplay that. I will
yeah.
put up my whole credentials against that. It's not happening." And people were saying, "Oh yeah, well if I'm right, I should have this many." It's like this many
Well,
followers. Like
I
no,
guess
dude.
even
Like,
more obvious one, right? It's like Mitchell. They're saying he's like a young Monster, but I mean, there's a big comparison there. But he's still a rookie. That's not there. You know, people are
Elijah Mitchell's pretty
overrating.
good though.
He's good.
Elijah
I'm
Mitchell,
not saying he's not,
Elijah Mitchell's good.
but I don't think he's a straight replacement for Raheem Mostert, right? And
No,
people
no,
are
no,
making
no.
that comparison right now. I think it's a little premature to make those type of comparisons, and I just think overall the talent pool is being overrated, right? So it's just
Mhm.
I think everyone thought that with Bosa back is going to fix everything on defense, right? And you called out early that it wasn't, right? And now it's happening, and people are like, "Oh my god, why is this still happening?" You know, so.
Remember when people were saying on the live stream here in the BWF, they're like, "Oh, Samson Ebicam, we got him. He's
Oh
going to have
yeah.
6 to 8 sacks. They love his
Where
motor."
is
Kyle
he? Is
Shanahan
he
said
playing
this.
this
John
season?
Lynch said this. And I said, you know what? This guy has never had more than 4 or 5 sacks in a
Yeah.
season. You're predicting 7 or 8. This guy's
Is
not
he
going to.
on
I
the
told him
team?
with a record. I said he'd be lucky to have 3 sacks this year.
Yeah.
And I'm not trolling Samson Ebicam, but again, where has he been?
Yeah.
They signed him in the offseason. Where is he?
We haven't
Now
seen
the
him
good
play,
news.
so yeah. There's no
Yeah.
highlight reel of him, right? I think that's a big understatement at this point.
They're just in a dire mess. If I was the GM of the 49ers and they had listened to me, we would be in a good place. The receipts check out. Now everybody can say, "Oh, we should have done this." I said this stuff in real time. But no, you want my analysis? If I was GM John Lynch right now, if I was to take over the team right now, this is what I would do. All right. I would not start Trey Lance. I would let him rest. All right. Because again, I didn't make those picks. I didn't fucking trade 3 draft picks for freaking Trey Lance. That's not my. I'm coming into this position, so I have a clean slate, bro. So I'm like, okay, Trey Lance, we're gonna get you help, man. You're obviously gonna be in the game in situational football, things like that.
Right.
But we're not gonna let you run wild. We need to save our most prized asset. We don't want you getting hurt, basically, right?
We trade 3 first-round picks for you. Now it's
right.
Right to play for a little bit.
Yeah. So we have to roll with you, Trey Lance. Even though I ain't draft you, we have to roll with you, which I said in real time. I said that was a dumb move to even consider moving up 3 first-round picks. That was just way too much draft capital. I already talked about that. But anyways, now that I'm stuck with you, Trey Lance, I said that should have been the pick because I did like Trey Lance's potential. Okay, we're going to roll with you. We're going to get a healthy George Kittle back. All right. I think George Kittle is going to do wonders for Trey Lance. All right.
Right.
So once those 2 guys can come back, then I'd be like, okay, now we have something to work with. But I'm not going to throw Trey Lance there with Ross Dwelly as my starting tight end. I'm not going to do that, or Charlie Warner. I'm sorry. These guys are not good. If Ross Dwelly he's a similar player to like Blake Bell, right? He'll be in the league for a while.
Yeah.
But then again, is he going to be something special or spectacular or even a good depth player? No. He's just there. He's just a guy, right?
I mean, that's where you saw so many targets in Debo, right? I think Jimmy doesn't trust anyone else right now. I think the game plan for stopping the Niners is easy. Stop the run, double up on Debo, and that's it. You're done. After that, just let Jimmy G make mistakes, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and that's why I think, and I agree with Randy. I think, or what Randy said from a GM was, Trey Lance is a year away from being away, and I think that's ultimately a very true statement. And again, I'm not a GM, but this is coming from a well-respected current GM. We don't know who that is, right?
Okay.
And even if I did, I wouldn't name it. I wouldn't name it even if I knew who it was. But again, to be honest with you, how many other GMs have that line of thinking when it came to Trey Lance? I guarantee at least 5 other GMs were thinking, we kind of dodged the bullet on that one. They're going to take that. Think about it.
So do you think they should have made the pick for Mac Jones instead? Then
No,
was that the better pick? Okay.
no. I still would have went Trey Lance. I still would have
Okay.
went Trey
Just
Lance.
for
If
the
you're gonna give up,
record.
well, because it's a boomer bust prospect, right? You got to think about it that way. You got to look at the potential. Mac Jones, you know what you're getting. You're getting a pro-ready NFL quarterback today, but the
Yeah.
potential for him to be a Hall of Fame or something like that, all
Yeah.
pro.
Well, let's preview this week's game, right? Would you have gone with Justin Fields instead of Trey Lance? Given now that you've seen so many weeks,
no. I
he
still like
doesn't
Trey
seem
Lance
ready
a little bit.
either.
I still
Okay.
like Trey Lance. I still like Trey Lance a little bit better. No, Justin Fields would have been a better NFL ready quarterback today. But
He's
at the
had
end
more
of the
games,
day,
and
I
there's
think,
more big games as well, right? Bigger conference, OSU.
yeah.
I think
Oh
he
yeah,
has a profile, right?
he does. And I do like Justin Fields. I just like Trey Lance's potential. Again, I didn't make that trade, but if I was walking into that and I held that third overall pick and I gave up 3 first-round picks, I have to swing for the fences and beyond. Swinging for the fences would be like Justin Fields, not Mac Jones because he'll be there at 12. But swinging for the fences for a guy like Justin Fields, swinging for the fences and beyond, that's like a home run derby. Now you have to go with Trey Lance because you gave up basically your future draft capital in order to take one player who you're banking on. You're putting all your eggs in one basket, which you should never do in the stock game. And again, they rolled the dice, and now the stock is kind of stagnant right now. When if you're trying to talk about futures and options here, puts and calls, you really don't know what that is because at the end of the day, you're buying a future earnings where you don't know where that is. You don't know what that is, but you knew what you were getting with a guy like Mac Jones. And that's why I think that's why Mac Jones is being the best quarterback right now.
So you'd rather go with the potential rather than the lower ceiling guy, basically.
I would rather go that route because I was stuck in that situation. If I was making that pick, because I was stuck giving up 3 first-round draft picks, I ain't make those trades. But if I was stuck there and I had to make the pick, you have to take a quarterback number one. You don't take up 3 first-round picks for a guy like
just get a running back.
Yeah. But no, they're just in a lot of trouble right now, man. And I really think that.
So let me ask you this then: what would you do if you were the owner of the team? You're Jed York. What would you do?
I would keep Kyle Shanahan. No, I would keep Kyle Shanahan. As much as I think Kyle Shanahan's arrogant, I would keep Kyle Shanahan. I would probably. Well, shoot, I'm not Jed York because Jed York doesn't know anything about like personnel side, but I would say I'd make me the GM. I would probably get a new GM because again, you know what? That's tough. That's a tough call because again,
who would you get? Right? I think that was a question you've always said. Who would you have gotten? It would be a yes man. Shanahan.
You have to be a yes man. Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's going to make any type of difference.
So you wouldn't make any changes though, right?
No. Well, because here's the thing. My thinking is here's my thinking. If Kyle Shanahan was to stay, which is highly unlikely, I think the pair go together. But if John Lynch was to be out and they chose Kyle Shanahan over John Lynch, I think they would hire within. I think that guy would probably be, a guy like Ethan Waugh, right? Like the director of college scouting, or even like who else was it that got interviewed? I can't draw a blank. Anyways, they'll get someone in-house and be that yes man. Because again, if you go outside the organization and bring in a new GM, you gotta remember he's bringing his guys too, just like a coaching staff. He's bringing his scouting department. He's bringing his regional scouts, whether it's national or Blesto, whatever the team. They go through national, but they have to do their due diligence there. But at the end of the day, it's almost like you're revamping your whole scouting department right before the draft, and you don't have a first round pick. So it's a really, really tough call for me to make as owner. I think if you're going to make the move, you have to fire both at the same time.
Well, what about Adam Peters, right? Remember, I think it was Adam Peters that was getting a lot of talk before.
Adam Peters, there you go. Yeah. There you go. We got a question from Tony Agatani, one of the BWF family members. Thank you so much. I appreciate the love. He's also a BEASTwriter Plus newsletter. Are you hearing that Kyle and Lynch aren't getting along? I don't get that sense, but don't know. What about Parag? I'm not hearing anything about that. Like Kyle and John Lynch aren't getting along. Look, anytime there's losing involved, rumors are going to start to leak because it's for clicks. But think about it. You think if you're married to somebody and your tenure is tied to someone, you would want to get along. You wouldn't want to not point fingers, because at the end of the day, you guys know you guys came in together and you built this thing brick by brick. You think you're going to point the finger at the other person just because you have a losing season and the media and the fans are like, oh man, like we suck, fire everyone. Like, no, bro, that's not how it works in real life. Like,
I think people are
me,
reading a lot into the press conferences, right? I feel a lot of, I think that's where Tony's question point came from. Is I think Lynch and Kyle have been. Oh, I guess Lynch was asked, right, about what do you think is wrong with the team, and then he was talking about execution, right? We can't execute. Yeah, a lot of people are directing that to Kyle, right? Saying, "Oh, execution is on the coach too to draft them in this position," right? I think there was some things like that, right? I think that was one example. There's other ones where it was like, okay, you think the personnel is the issue or the plays are the issue. He's like, well, the plays are being executed, right? I think that's where people are like, oh, so now you say Kyle's a problem, right? That's where I think the source of the question is coming from, right? I think a lot of the press conferences are alluding to the fact that, hey, they were more on the same page when they're winning, because obviously that's easy, right? But once you're losing, you're starting to see these subtleties where people are being into.
I'm going to downplay that. I'm going to be the one to disagree with people who are putting out there like words in John Lynch's mouth. No, that's not what's going on.
And Perron's role is
knowing John and Kyle personally, I know their relationship. They're very tight. All right. To the media, to some in the media, I'm not saying everyone, but to some in the media, they might turn it around. They might say things that that will stir up debate and say, oh yeah, now the execution falls on the coaches. But look, if you played any type of competitive sport, again, it's an ultimate team sport. Hello, it comes down to not only the coaches for calling up plays and drawing up plays to put their players in the best position to make plays. Those players also have to execute on the field. You can't have this team run a 3-4 defense, right? And we saw it with Chip Kelly. When Chip Kelly was the head coach back in 2016, they tried to transition from a 4-3 Tomsula team and Jim Harbaugh regime into a 34 base defense. And you saw guys like Ronald Blair, all right, who came in as basically a nose tackle, zero technique, put up 35 plus reps on the bench press, being converted to a 3-4 outside linebacker, and then hit with body analysis. Same with Tank Carradine, who came out of Florida State, right, in the second round, who the team traded back for with the Tennessee Titans back in 2014, I believe it was, or 2013, excuse me, 2013, and they made a trade with the Tennessee Titans, moving back, I believe it was from 34 to 40, and they converted him from a 4-3 defensive end or defensive tackle to an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. It just doesn't convert that way. So again, execution comes from the players, but also it falls back on the coaches at the same time. So to say it's one over the other, no, you really don't know football. Anyone who says that execution comes down to the coaches, no. Okay, you can call the best plays, but if you don't have the players to do it, listen, I defended Robert Saleh, who was a good friend of mine, right? Me and Robert would talk all the time, and I defended Robert Saleh to the end. When 49ers fans wanted him out, I went on Twitter and said, you know what? He's not the problem. Right. Execution falls on the players. He's calling up the right plays. He can't tell people to form tackle correctly using the hawk tackle. And I broke down the hawk tackles, attacking the near side hip of the receiver, squeezing the legs, and then rolling over, all these different things. There's different types of hawk tackles made famous by Rocky Seto that he was teaching these guys. But if they're not living up to the hype and not doing these types of tacklings, well, that's not falling on Robert Saleh. Yeah. And everyone's blaming Robert Saleh. Oh, he sucks. He's a bad. Right. No, bro. And now everyone's upset that Robert Saleh left and sad that he left. But at the end of the day, it's like, it wasn't Robert Saleh, was it, guys?
So is it Kyle then? Is Kyle the problem? Because, although you saw the end of the second half, but he did get booed because he had a minute something and change left, 3 timeouts. He decided to run the ball and then take a knee to end the half. And the Colts had the ball first too. So a lot of people felt like he gave up the possession, right? So, and I think that's just one example of it, but a lot of people are kind of questioning the play calls now, right? I think it seems like the first drive, they knew what they're doing. After that, they kind of went away from what was working. Well, I don't know. I know you didn't have time probably to break down the game film, but what was your take on putting some blame on Kyle on play calling?
At the end of the day, obviously, everything's scripted for the first 15 plays. So, the 15 plays, they go as planned. And then from that point on, you make the adjustments. What happened is, again, under those rainy conditions, and I said it when I was at the gym hours before tip off or kickoff, I should say tip off, like it's NBA, kickoff, that this game is not going to look pretty because of the weather. I think everyone knew that. The problem with that is I also said losing left tackle Trent Williams was a huge blow to the team because you can't run to the left side anymore. You have a backup left tackle who basically wouldn't even be a backup left tackle on a number of different teams. So you combine that, and then you combine that with the play of Lincoln Tomlinson, who's been struggling, Alex Mack, who's been struggling, Daniel Brunskill, who's I mean, honestly, would Daniel Brunskill start on like half of the NFL teams right now? Probably not. And then you have right tackle Mike McGlinchey, who has the Madelay Ole style of offensive play. It's a cause for disasters because, again, when you're in a game like that where weather conditions are poor, you're not going to want to throw the ball. And teams are going to stack the box.
I guess the contrarian to that, though, is the Colts were aggressive, and the Colts' personnel is banged up, right? Their offensive line is banged up as well. So, and it felt like, at least, hear me out, right? It felt like Frank Wright was calling more aggressive plays, especially on third down, where Kyle was a bit more conservative, right? I think that's what people are pointing to. And both teams had the same weather conditions because they're playing the same game, right?
No. Yeah, but both teams did not have the same personnel. If you're Frank Reich, all right, people don't, again, I cover all 30, trust me. If you're Frank Reich, again, they were shorthanded on wide receivers. They didn't have T.Y. Hilton there. All right. So what you're going to do. You're going to use Michael Pittman, all right, because what does he do well? Between the 20s, he can really separate, especially against one-on-one against those.
I think this was the first game they kind of used Pittman the right way, right? Because Pittman before was not really a wide receiver one, I felt like. They were kind of, relying on Jonathan Taylor at the end. I think this game they really used them as a wide receiver one, not using Molly Alley Fox or whoever it is, or Zach Pascal there. But it seems like Pittman had a breakout game for the season, right, with us. But
Pittman has been getting open. He just hasn't been getting the ball. But no, again, it comes down to personnel. Again, if you're Frank Reich, you're going to be attacking that secondary. That's exactly what I would do. Look on the flip side of that. Do you think Kyle Shanahan would be throwing the ball, trusting Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the ball under those weather conditions with that secondary, which is not, I mean, it's not like, oh my gosh, that secondary is so good. But at the end of the day, it's better than what the Niners have in their secondary. So again, you have to play the margin of error here, right? Where each position counts, right? And fundamentals play a vital role in victory or defeat. And football is a game of inches. You have to play the time of possession to where you believe you give your team chance, the best place to win football games. And ultimately, Kyle Shanahan rolled and didn't want to basically use players and put them in positions to where they would be. I mean, this loss could have been worse. If Jimmy Garoppolo was even more aggressive than what he was, even though he wasn't aggressive, would it be a 30-18 game or would it be a 43-18 game? Because again, all they have is Deebo Samuel. They don't have George Kittle. They don't have an offensive line like the Indianapolis Colts do, right? Even though there was injuries across the board, Quentin Nelson was back. That's the best best offensive guard in all of football, right? Ryan Kelly, right? So I mean, like their guys were there. It's just a matter of personnel. Again, we can't look at the play calling because you can't call plays if the players can't run those plays. As a coach, I'm not going to run a play. I'm like, hey, Charles, go run a deep route. Coach, I've never done that before, and I'm pretty slow. Yeah, you're right. So we're not going to run that deep route with you, but we're short-handed. We need you to run that deep route.
Let's do it.
So I don't know.
No, I get it. I absolutely get it. But I think I'm just echoing what people are thinking, right? Because a lot of people are pointing fingers at that play call and how Kyle Shanahan's running. And that's why I think Kyle's in the hot seat now for the media, at least, right? Maybe not with Jed or whoever, but at least the media is putting him in the hot seat thinking, hey, there's some questionable play calls. Why don't you go back to running the ball more, Mitchell, right? That was the number one thing.
But here's another thing with that. How can you criticize play calling when you're not even an NFL coordinator yourself?
Right. That's true.
I'm not an NFL coordinator, so I'm not going to criticize the plays. But I can say what I can say from a coaching perspective, because I've coached many different years. It falls on both the players and the coaches. Look, if you're a coach, okay, XYZ beat writer, you're the coach. What do you want to run on 3rd and short? Or what do you want to run on 3rd and 6? What personnel do you have to run those routes against that cover 4 shell or a cover 3 shell? Oh, that safety's coming up more times than not. Okay, so they're stacking the box with that extra run defender. Should we run play action pass? Do we have enough time? Can this offensive line hold up enough for me to run that play action pass or a naked bootleg? Can this tight end leak out like George Kittle can and find that soft spots in the zone coverage and be smart enough to know where his help is on the back end of that defense to where he can kind of shy away and leverage himself to get that first down marker? These are different things that, again, I don't know. That's why I get so frustrated, because people follow the wrong people and they buy into stupid shit.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. That's cool.
Well, thanks for clarifying that for us, Beast, because I think you're the best at saying things like this. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about the offensive line outside of Trent Williams, right? So that was very insightful. I think, a lot of people are thinking we're set besides having Trent Williams out there, but it seems like we have a lot more foundational problems on O-line that people are giving credit to. So.
I just think if you had, like, Lincoln Tomlinson is a starter in the NFL, he would start on an NFL team. Alex Mack is past his prime. All right. Daniel Brunskill, I'm not sure if he would be starting on half the teams in the NFL. Yeah. In fact, if you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have one of the worst offensive lines in all of football, even though they're young. They have Kendrick Green. They have Dan Moore. They have guys like Trey Turner, right? And then Chuck Okorafor, Zach Manner. You have guys like that on the offensive line. I don't think he would even start on that offensive line as bad as the Steelers' offensive line is. So again, you have to be able to compare not only to the own team that you're rooting for, but the entire landscape of the NFL to have any type of substance and saying, hey, criticizing this player or praising this player, yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's bad. Okay, cool story. You can point out all, and you'll see it today. People bring up coaches' film and just bring up certain plays. But it's like, dude, did you watch the entire freaking game? I mean, you can't just pull one sample size and push the narrative that you want from that sample size. It's just is not how it works in real life.
Right.
I don't know, man. I get frustrated. Don't you get frustrated, though? I mean, because now...
It was not a fun game to watch, right? I think that people were getting frustrated watching the game, and I think that's why it's the talk of town this week, right? It's really... people are seeing the season deteriorate in front of their eyes.
Okay, so let's get on something happy now. I know we both have to get going. Let's talk about Squid Game. Squid Game.
Yeah, I finished watching it. It was good.
Okay.
All right, spoilers alert. Like everyone turn off if you're not spoil. But yeah, that ending surprised me. I didn't know it was an old man. I thought that was a good twist there, and we'll see what happens in part 2. Like with the red hair, he's ready to start some fires.
What did you think? So, spoiler alert. Let's talk about it. At a scale of 1 to 10, with 5 being average, what would you rate the Netflix original?
I think it's about 7. I'll give it a 7. I won't give it a 10. No, it's a 7, dude. Because I think it was. I think it was a good show overall, but it's not one where I'm like, okay, I need to rewatch it again. I know you did, but for me, I'm kind of like, okay, that's cool. Now I'm done with it. Moving on. So, it's above average. 7's above average. You said 5 was average. I think it's above average. I don't think it was the best there was, though.
I was hoping you would say at least an 8. I give it at least an 8.5. 8.5. I like the storyline. I like the plot.
I think the characters should have been developed a little bit more, right? I think that's why I thought it was as good.
Well, there's going to be a second one. There will be a second one.
Yeah. But here's the thing about development should have been more. Like even some of the characters, like what was the background of the old lady, right? What was the background more into the gangster, right? We saw what happened, why he joined the game, but what's his backstory? How did he get to be like the jerk that he was? Like there's a lot of things where they could have, buttoned up a little bit more and dove deeper, and then the reveal of the old man, I think it was great, but then that's another character development that was lacking, right? Like it was cool, but then let's dig a little bit deeper into the old man. Show the old man like when he was younger and getting bored, and talked about it, but they didn't show it, right? I think that's when it played over the edge. If they actually dove into each of the characters within the episodes And you know, like they had time to do it. Like episode 9 was what 30 minutes. Like that was the shortest episode, right? Like it was like 15 minutes long. That 45 minutes, they could use a little pieces of there and there and develop each of those characters. So anyway, that was my analysis on it. That's why you missed semi standby.
No. That's good. No, I respect it. I respect it. There's people that look. It was too gory for them. I told my sister to watch it. She's like, no, I'm not gonna watch it. I watched it 7.5 times. I'm watching it as we speak right now in the background.
Yeah.
But no,
you're still watching it.
I'm still watching it. I love it, dude. I love. I'm not joking.
I love it. No, I love
the scene where the scene is where they're like almost butt naked, but like they just got thrown out in the middle of the street. That was fun.
Dude, there's gonna be so many Halloween costumes that are gonna be Squid Game themed. You know, like from wearing the contestant, from the cards, and everything, dude. Even the red light, green light girl, I've seen a few costumes of her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those are legit, man. Look online. That one is. A lot of people are getting into that, you know. So
okay. Before I let you go, before I let you guys, I want to say thank you. But one Netflix original I wanted, if you thought that was this one you may not like, but have you heard of My Name, the other Korean drama?
That's the next one I'm gonna watch. I heard that one. Yeah.
That was pretty freaking dope, bro.
That's number 1 on Netflix now. So that passed Squid Game this week. So I think there's something to that show too. So
yeah. Well, all right. Well, thank you so much, Jerry, for hopping on the show. I got to get back to my game grades. Yep. And again, thank you for talking about the 49ers and all things NFL. Thank you so much, buddy. And I hope you have a great day, everyone. That's it for the BEASTwriter Show. We are out. Take care. BEASTwriters out.